Staring at herself in the mirror on the restroom door. Voices in her head that mirror what she's heard before.
Hey beautiful people, it's your girl Shakima. I'm just stopping in for a quick free yourself reading. A couple of questions we've still got left. So this is part 3, okay? And in this, I guess, video, we're going to be diving into 3 questions. This part we've got Leslie, Jasmine, and Smaragdenia. So those are the 3 questions, the final 3 questions we're going to unpack. It took us a while to get here, y'all, but we got here in the end. That part, okay? And at least it's some content for you guys to be able to dive into whilst your girl has been down out of these YouTube streets. So God has definitely utilized this to let me know areas that I can also sort of pick up as well, navigating around my current circumstances whilst I sort of manifest more time for us, because this capacity is not giving for your girl. It's just not. So I'm not going to be able to maintain it for you guys, but I do realize that I'm being, I guess, ushered into a season where we can go back to filming some content for you guys as well, because God gave me assignment again, y'all. So hold tight and watch the space for those unfoldings next month. And we shall see how everything kind of moves, right? Before we dive into it and get everything sort of unpacked in the space, guys, let's get ourselves together. So if you guys sort of like my vibe and you want to be a part of this YouTube tribe and posse that I'm kind of like building in these YouTube streets, definitely subscribe and join the tribe. I mean, we're an amazing bunch, to say the least, right? And for those of you guys, I mean, I'm going to be doing the reading for Leslie, Jasmine, and Smaragdenia. So you guys comment down below and let me know how you guys have been able to utilize the information, whether you found that the information actually resonated as well. I mean, if it doesn't resonate, let it dissipate as far as areas and variables. And what I mean is there may be aspects where your ego may be in contraction as opposed to expansion state. So you might be a little bit rigid in the ego to receive some of the stuff. I mean, I generally sort of try to be honest as well. So those types of dynamics may cause expansions in areas, right? Blind spots. We're going to dive into the blind spots because I've already seen questions that I want to like unpack in a certain dynamic and stuff. So we're going to do all of that. So you guys let me know in the comment section how you guys have actually found the information. And I guess give the video a thumbs up. I mean, if it's not for you as far as the guys that I'm reading for, but you enjoy the content, give your girl some thumbs up in these streets. We're going to try and move things along. I haven't really given much energy to manifesting like greatness for the channel because I've just been like, I'm okay with, you know, who we are, where we're at, and stuff like that. So God's just given me another little boost, and you girls going to be preparing for that. So whilst we do that, y'all, let's go and dive into it and unpack these questions for these ladies and see what's on the cards, shall we? That part. Okay, hang tight, y'all. Okay, so first in this segment, we actually have Leslie. And Leslie has a pretty direct question, right? Should I go on vacation? I mean, yeah, naturally. That's what my my automatic response to that would be. But that, you guys know how I read by now. Really, we want the tea, okay? It's not necessarily about should you go on vacation. We want to dive into what are the variables that are in your favor to go on vacation and what may that experience mean for your journey further ahead as well as your experiences now. That's how we're going to sort of like dive into that little magic of a question, because I love a good vacation. We just actually booked our family staycation, so I am right here with you, okay, Leslie? But we're gonna need to unpack that. So I'm gonna start off with your question, but you guys gonna unpack that, okay? Right, so firstly, we're gonna start with your variant of the question. Should Leslie go on holiday, guys? Do you guys sort of encourage that experience at this point of the journey? Is it for the best? Give us some insight, guys, because ultimately life always works in our best favor. I mean, sometimes we want it to work in our better favor, like, oh, you know, it would be better if this had happened and that had happened. But the best thing is always the way that things actually pans out. So Give us some insight, guys. Should our girl Leslie go on holiday? As clearly as you can. Thank you. Okay, so. Oh, interesting. There's a lot of internalizing on this because it's like you haven't necessarily quite made some decisions when it comes to the holiday situation in your mind. There's a few areas of indecision when it comes down to the process of where you're at with this manifestation of this vacation. It's almost like internally you haven't made certain decisions, but you're kind of low-key already doing it, is what they're saying. You haven't entirely cracked it open because I think that there has been concerns, and I guess you're kind of like navigating through the money variables with the situation to identify what's probable and what the actual like options are in terms of the decision making process by the looks of it. So I mean, essentially they're saying you're kind of already on the path of that. But they're saying you're not alone in the process of this decision making. You know, trust your path, and the keepers of the earth are actually with you. You're not alone. The ancestors walk with you and they stand beside you as you move through the process. The question to you in this like money question that you're navigating, because like that's God's job, right? I mean, usually I'm like, I said a little thing and I'm like, okay, go and find that. I'm going to do what I need to do to make sure that I stay open to any probability of being able to manifest that. But that's ultimately God's job. So they're saying if you knew that you were supported in spite of the financial concerns, what would you do? Right? Because you're kind of low key doing it, but there are certain limitations based on some of these factors when it comes to financial resources. And they're saying if you let that go, technically you've already made the decision. You just need to kind of like work out the variables on that, right? And figure out how to do it in a way where, you know, it isn't too much of an effect and impact on you. Because this dynamic for you personally is an experience for you to be able to have your moment of, you know, light in the garden, that sunshine, you know, that beauty, that wonder of life. And that's really what the universe would like to pay you back, which is why these downloads are coming through for you at the minute. I do think you may actually manifest a vacation. I think that it's probably likely to happen within the next 7 to 8 weeks, is what I'm seeing. Potentially 9 weeks, depending on how the timeline plays out and a few of these variables that are kind of unfolding with the situation. So, should you go on holiday? I mean, the universe supports it. Do you want to go on holiday? Yes, you do. You feel like you deserve a vacation. The universe concurs with that decision. But essentially, there's still a few decisions that you have to make when it comes along to the process. So I'm also going to ask the question, should Leslie go on vacation? How do you see things working out for her in the process of that unfolding? Okay, interesting. Beautiful. Beautiful, my love. This is where you get to be able to really see, observe, and look at your strengths. Okay. Girl, they done said, you'll be navigating through some debt recovery, you know, after that. There'll be, you know, a bit of a bounce back, I guess. That would be the focus. Duh. Oh, they are funny. They are funny. They're just, I love it when they state the obvious. Let it be that you ask them a direct question and we done got some stuff like you're already kind of doing it. You know what I mean? Rather than a yes or no. But now here they are trying to let it be no, girl. When you come back, you're going to have to deal with debt management. Okay? But I love how they're keeping us, you know, up to date with the adulting class, you know, that part, because obviously, even as you navigate through the process of the situation, presumably they just want to give you that reassurance that if you make the right decisions in terms of the financial variables, like the financial resources that are available to you, you'll be able to come back and actually recover from that situation financially. And I think one of the things that will ultimately be a part of the process is that your impatience may be an area that you start to open up and you start to allow for things. Well, the recovery process will help you to release any impatience with, how quick you want that turnaround to be in terms of the financial bounce back, basically, from that decision. You're going to go through a transformation of that in making this step to actually go and give yourself something that you actually feel that you deserve, without grudge, malice, or any feelings of guilt. Just sheer appreciation, acceptance for the blessing that you're receiving. So let's go ahead. They are funny, right? Let's go ahead though and dive into, so what's the guidance for you overall on this matter? What is the overall guidance for our girl Leslie on this matter then, guys? Okay. What is the overall guidance for Leslie on the situation? Okay. Okay. They're saying that there's some things that you'll obviously have to reconsider, essentially, right? One of the things that I just heard when I was sort of like bringing all of this into context was that as far as the situation, things that may need to be reconsidered, they were like, well, you know how you mentioned at the start that you've kind of like booked your family staycation. That's a nice alternative for her to sort of like keep into consideration as well in terms of some of the variables that may be available as far as options. So that's something that they wanted me to sort of like put in there as well. And then also, it's just the way in which you organize everything, right? In terms of the moment that you're looking to have. If you haven't been to the Lake District, it's always beautiful. There's lots of scenic areas in the UK, because I think Leslie's based in the UK, if I'm not mistaken. Leslie. So there's lots of things that may be possible to be done in terms of where you are presently, right? So that's also another option to consider. And then places like Turkey is usually quite cheap. Traveling directly in Europe is usually quite cost effective. The value of the pound obviously is not too giving, because I mean, most places are euros, but the beautiful thing about that is you can easily take a train to Paris, for instance, and cut out an expense of flight costs that may not even necessarily be something that you need to kind of like incorporate, you know what I mean? Amsterdam's actually beautiful. Holland on a whole is really, really amazing. There's lots of different options that you can kind of like choose from. So it's a case of reconsidering that you won't necessarily recover within a year in being able to make that decision, okay? There won't necessarily be an unlikely outcome where there are, too many variables of resistances for you. It's just a case of trying to figure out what are the best odds that are in your favor when it comes to the situation, because the finance aspects of this is basically the major arcana that you're going to be navigating after the facts, right? They already made that clear. So yeah, there's big happy changes that are taking place in terms of learning how to trust the process, and you're actually ready to do that. And they say, yes, this is actually a, good decision for you to decide to sort of go and do the vacation thing. But in terms of the timing, it's really kind of up to you when the timing will be with the situation. You do have to be a little bit patient. You may have to, like I said, it may unfold over the course of 7, I believe, to 9 weeks, I think I said. Where you'll have to kind of like really understand the right timeline for this in terms of you being able to have this be cost effective as well. We're getting pretty decent weather, so you kind of want to like enjoy that. And I find that the best time to really be able to kind of like benefit from holiday experiences is probably like September, October times, because the weather's just about to dip to go back into winter season. So you may be able to benefit from that if you allow for yourself to make the right decision in terms of timing on the situation. But in the next couple of weeks, 2 to 2.5 weeks, you'll be able to kind of like get the right guidance and clarity on the situation to see where you can improve based on the signs that are coming in for you. Maybe not in terms of romance. And again, this is an area where, where that isn't necessarily a focus or an aspect of class that you're navigating through at the minute. You have more of a capacity to be able to ask the angels for other things, because you have, more open areas of assignments that you can actually utilize their energy. Not necessarily in the next few weeks. You're not going to have to wait too long. And meditation isn't necessarily going to bring the answers. This is going to take active mental delegation to actually be able to kind of delegate to the guides what your goals are. As you get more information as well, you kind of just need to allow for yourself to make a conscious decision about what ultimately would be worth the cost of coming back to sit this debt management class. Okay, because essentially, obviously, we're still now actively navigating through the Saturn retrograde in Pisces. So we've got karma at its finest. Decisions are definitely being run through with a fine tooth comb. So be mindful how you make decisions. Don't overexert your finances or resources. Do something that is cost effective, that is also going to benefit you as far as you being able to get this opportunity to just cleanse for a minute, right? That part. Okay, I hope that that was useful for you, my love. And we are going to leave it with you there. Let me know in the comments section how you found the information, whether or not it's been useful for you, and how it really resonated. Okay, next we're going to go on to Jasmine. Jasmine is question number 2. So, Jasmine's question is, will my email be accepted by HR? Okay, we're going to start with the angelic guidance on this one, because it's, again, a very direct question. Clearly, this is a waiting process, and you've been kind of like navigating through that. So, obviously, there's a little bit of a delay, kind of to build suspense. God loves to have sort of like end scenes on cliffhangers. Man thinks that we created this whole dynamic, right, in movies, but really, God's been doing this cliffhanger stuff like since before biblical times, right? So there's a waiting process with that. Okay. Okay. It seems as though with the situation, they're saying that within the next couple of weeks, this situation is actually going to be unfolding. It's not necessarily something that is going to be resolved in the next couple of weeks. It's actually going to be potentially something that kind of unfolds over the course of the next 3 to 5 months. I want to say is what I'm getting, because it seems like the 4th month seems to be a little bit of a pivoting point, but the 5th month is really when this, like the come down of whatever you're discussing with HR is actually sort of like it's coming like down, like it's ending. That season is coming to an end, basically. So it seems like you've planted a seed with that email that takes around about a 6 months timeline. They're saying nonetheless, this isn't about meditating for the answers. Just don't stop what you're doing at the minute. Continue to ask for help from others, because you're not really getting the support that you need from people, because they're not necessarily taking the action that you also would like for them to, execute, to let it be seen, like your feelings are also being taken into consideration and that you're also being acknowledged. So they're saying choose a new direction. With the dynamics of that, it's not about not communicating anymore. It's about really being able to sort of communicate effectively, so that you can improve the health of the situation. It seems like I get the sense that you're kind of pushing back on something at the minute, and that is a necessity, I guess, in terms of where you are in your own personal journey when it comes to your throat chakra, essentially. Communications really being activated for you during this season. But they're saying, look for a sign where you can see that it's not necessarily about forgiveness. It's just an unsuccessful situation. Wherever you sort of like look or take it, you can forgive certain things, but ultimately it's just not necessarily, it's not favorable treatment, basically, is what they're saying nonetheless when it comes to the situation. And they're saying it's okay to ask the angels to assist you in the process, because there isn't necessarily a peaceful resolution to get the yes that you're looking for. So you've planted this seed, and it's going to unfold, not necessarily within the next few weeks, because it's not about compromising when it comes to the situation. It's about like really acknowledging that it's not the right time, essentially, for certain opportunities. So it depends on the dynamic of your questioning to HR, my love. It may be a not right now situation, potentially in the next 3 to 5 months. I'm sort of getting the sense that that's what the dynamic is when it comes to this situation. They're saying it's not just about listening to your intuition when it comes to this opportunity, but it's actually up to you to be able to kind of navigate through the no, but remain positive through the process, and know that there isn't necessarily a perfect timing dynamic with this. It's more a case of what you believe and where you believe that your energy is best placed, essentially. They're saying, I mean, it's okay to worry or have concerns about certain things because it doesn't feel like you're navigating through recovery. And that's probably what's going to be sort of like, heightened over the course of the rest of the year. But you won't necessarily need to get more information as you move through the process later down the line. It's more a case of you just being assertive then and realizing that there's actually something better for you out there. So there isn't going to be an unlikely outcome. You will likely get a no in some instances in terms of the seed that you're planting with this HR email, but it's still going to bring you the big happy changes. Not necessarily in terms of, the changes that you may perhaps want, but changes that will improve the situation to show you that you're ready. And when the yes moment comes from you waiting, you'll actually be in a place where you're reconsidering your options, basically. So the situation ultimately really just kind of has to play out. Okay. So we're going to close out the space and ask, how can our girl Jasmine best work her light then during this phase? Firstly, they're saying that this is the birthing of a new age for you when it comes to the dynamics, when it comes to the work situation. So how can she work her light as she navigates? Thank you. Okay, they're saying that you can go through the process of this crumbling that's happening, right? By asking yourself, what is it that you're clinging on to? Why are you clinging on to this? What significance is this proving to you in your life in terms of how you identify yourself? And move through the process of the layers of those things and really mother yourself. Really help yourself to be able to, because I think that the universe has something better in store for you. And I think that this is going to be the catalyst to that change where you're able to really see and understand the strength that you hold and possess, they're saying. And what you'll sort of find as you kind of move forward with the process of this situation is that you're not necessarily asking, where are you being called to journey to? So because you're not asking those questions, you need to first start by asking, what is it that you're clinging to, so that you can release that and loosen your grip to that attachment, so that you can make room for the beauty of the blessing that God has in store for you, my love. Okay, that part. So yeah, it seems as though there's still quite a bit to unpack when it comes to that situation over the course of the next few months. So let me know in the comments section, how you found the information as well, Jasmine, and keep me posted, girl, on how the situation unfolds with HR, because it seems like there's a waiting process. There's areas of being told no, but it's actually building you for a yes later down the line, essentially, right? And I guess it's a case of timing when it comes to certain situations on their end. But for you, ultimately, you've already given certain time to certain situations, is what they're saying. So you've already earned certain things, and the universe is already sort of like bringing those things into manifestation or aligning you with the timelines of those things that you've actually already discerned and deserved, is what I'm hearing, because you've been clear about what it is that you're trying to actually manifest for yourself in terms of your lifestyle and life experience moving forward, and that's actually set this trajectory into motion. So yeah, good luck with that, beautiful. Keep me posted and let me know how that goes, because this is definitely the season of pivoting, that part. Right, guys, so we're gonna go and wrap it up and dive into Smaragdenia's question as well and see what we can do with her question. So bear with me, let's dive into it. Okay, y'all, so we're gonna answer a question for our girl Smaragdenia, who is a regular to the channel. Unfortunately, Mama wasn't feeling well, so her question at the time, this was on the 10th of June, so obviously we're closing out all of the readings from June. This is the final segment for you guys, and Smaragdenia is the closer for this. And her question was, hey guys, I'm a little bit sick today. If I can't manage to stay in the space, as she wasn't able to, here we are. Please post my question. Any information about my job will be appreciated, like will it be stable, will I be happy and independent, etc. Right? So we're going to go and unpack that for our girl and really get a look at what the work situation may be like for our girl moving forward, and really provide some insight into what we can see when it comes to that situation, right? So guys, Smaragdenia wants to know about the workspace. She wants to get, oh, interesting, okay. Challenging, okay. Okay, you've been seeding, my love. You've been seeding when it comes to the situation, but you have been meeting your challenges as far as that particular situation. So show me then. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Much appreciated. Okay, so, oh, interesting. Ah, look at that, Smaragdenia. Okay, so they are saying that when it comes to the job situation, you're actually going to find that, because I know that you've lost a couple of loves, because we've got the Lovers card in reverse, and we've also got the Six of Swords in, you know, its upright position, sort of like giving us the indication that, you know, there's a rite of passage that's taken place in terms of certain relationships actually falling to the wayside. So you're already moving into a process of being a little bit more open to what it is that you do career-wise. And I think in terms of the question on independence, that's potentially why. I think that God's actually expanding your vision on what it is that you want to be doing career-wise, and how to be able to sort of execute that. I think that from what I can see with the process of the situation, you're actually going through a training in essence at the minute that is actually giving you an opportunity to see where you yourself need to make decisions that aren't necessarily so rigid, right? Make decisions where you can be a little bit more perceptive with the process that you're navigating through, because sometimes your spirit of discernment is a little bit off, or it can be when it comes to certain situations. So I think that they're saying that you're definitely manifesting a stable situation for yourself when it comes to that. But first, your focus has to be out of the romance space, because those things were a necessary transition. It was kind of like shifting your focus almost. And if you want the level of independence that you want, it requires you kind of like thus building that independently on your own, before actually being in a situation where there's these expectations within a relationship that may actually find you being a little bit more codependent than you'd actually like. So they're saying that those situations that you've been through romantically has really given you the focus to be able to build on this independence and stability that you're looking to sort of manifest when it comes to the situation. This one, however, my love, there's lots of layers to it, because they're taking me into so many different aspects of the situation that I have to almost speak on, right? What I'm seeing is that you're still determining, like I said, some of the visions that God has for you when it comes to how you're going to be manifesting this independence financially. I think that you have at least 3 different areas where you do different things. And that's where you find your resources. So you don't necessarily have the capacity for anything romantically at the minute. And it's almost like they're trying to kind of like clear your schedule for you, but your focus is still a little bit off. So that's something that you need to kind of like look at. I would say personally, in terms of the situation for you, Mama, and it will allow for you to be able to kind of like bring this into manifestation a little bit sooner than anticipated, because at the minute the timeline isn't necessarily looking that great, is what they're saying to me. It's looking like 7 to 9 months with your timeline, because of a little bit of a lazy tendency. They're saying you're a little bit complacent. Sorry, girl, you know I'm always honest with you. I just give it like I get it. They say that you're a little bit complacent. You could be doing more to really be able to pour into these different areas, these 3 little pots, these 3 little pockets, these 3 little gifts, basically, these talents that you have, to really be able to kind of get the ball rolling. But I think your focus has been a little bit distracted in terms of what hasn't necessarily worked romantically. So they're saying you need to get back on track and really tend to the seeds that you've been planting when it comes to that, and also really nurturing those seeds with some water, like speaking positively over certain situations. Your worrying tendencies at the minute is causing a little bit of resistance to the timeline of some of the things that you're manifesting. So you're learning how to be a little bit more open to the process and accepting where you can actually do things better for yourself, basically, not to impress upon anybody, not for anybody else to be the extrinsic motivation or the motivating force as to why you're doing anything, for you, actually doing it for yourself. That's ultimately what's going to anchor this timeline of stability so that you can lay the foundations in the construct of this for generations to come, really. I mean, you build upon something that gives other generations after you an opportunity to be able to kind of be inspired as well and encouraged by your bravery is what they're saying. So right now, Gra, the focus is a little bit off. In the next 7 to 9 months, you'll be in a different place with the situation, but you ultimately definitely need to get back on assignment. Okay, because asking the questions without really sort of like putting yourself in a position where the work is really reflected, I mean, it doesn't necessarily sort of like bode well, does it? Right, that part. Okay, so we're gonna go and dive into your guidance for the situation. What is the guidance for Smaragdenia in dealing with the process of the unfoldings of all of this? Okay, there isn't going to be an unlikely outcome. You have to actually make some reconsiderations on things that you've actually said no to. There's likely to be some changes in those areas, you know, things that you may have basically like projects that you've put down, things that you may have wanted to do. Finding windows to be able to freelance your talents, basically, is what they're saying, is where you're going to be able to give yourself a pushing start so that you can start to optimize this lazy, complacent personality type to get a little bit more focus and direction in terms of how to be able to do things effectively, right? So those are some of the changes that you can expect. The change is coming within. It's not an external thing, is what they're saying. You don't necessarily need to sort of like trust the process per se, because at this point, the situation's improving nonetheless. And within the next few weeks, potentially 3 to 5 weeks, you'll realize that you're actually ready to say yes to certain things that, you know, you've kind of like put on the back burner for a while. You waited because that was a compromise, and you may have to continue to wait, but it may be a different type of waiting. At least you're seeding for the next aspects of, you know, the seed that you've already planted. You know, we're in the Gemini new moon season, so this is an opportunity for you to plant some additional sort of as you're planting new seeds, it's about watering some of the old seeds essentially. And they're saying that there's some talents that you've kind of like put away, and now is the time to sort of like really figure out a different way to be able to execute on some of those skill sets. There isn't necessarily going to be a full recovery, but as long as you don't necessarily choose a new direction in terms of some of the things that you had already started the process of doing, if you can communicate clearly in those spaces when it comes to like your hidden talent, like communicating some of your creative and artistic expressions, because I get the sense that there's some creativity experienced in like some of the context of what I'm speaking about, Smaragdenia, like your talents, your gifts, there's artistic expressions involved. And they're saying that within a year from now, as long as you're able to clearly like showcase these things and articulate it, it's not necessarily about getting more information. It's not really improving as such within the year, but it's not about looking for a sign for it to kind of like be showing you that it's successful. It's more a case of you kind of like forgiving the process that you kind of have to go through and knowing that success is inevitable and it's a journey, you're working towards it. And the romance is actually going to align in the right timing of all of this as well. So you kind of have to manage romance class with your assignments, beautiful, because I think that that's been a little bit of a distraction to some degree, and it's kind of like put you in a position where you haven't been as open as you need to with the angels in terms of setting your goals and being assertive. But there's something better moving forward. God's going to ensure that there's a peaceful resolution. It's not necessarily going to be a yes in terms of the external job sourcing per se. It's not the right time for that because you've got other assignments that you need to be and should have been working on, I'm hearing. So this is more of an opportunity for you to kind of like do that instead. Okay, it's not about listening only to your intuition, but it's also about how you move through the process of your belief within yourself, and that will activate the abundance that God has present for you, mama. Okay. Right, guys, I hope that was useful for all of you guys, actually. And yes, Smaragdenia, comment down below and let me know how you've been able to kind of like utilize the information that I provided, because I mean, they've just laid some stuff out there, as they do. Nonetheless, we move. Let me know, guys, how you've been able to kind of like utilize the information. If none of these readings were actually for you, but you felt like it resonated with where you are on your journey, comment down below and let me know how you've been able to effectively utilize the information as well, because there's always a teachable moment in all of these questions that we're all asking. You know, collectively we're asking these questions to some degree as well. So on that note, I'm gonna love you guys and leave it there for you guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. And like I said, if you like my vibe and you want to be a part of the tribe, subscribe. We would love to have you join the community, okay? And definitely give the video a thumbs up as well if you did feel like the content was, you know, something that you resonated with. I mean, even if it didn't resonate with you and you want to give it a thumbs down, hell, it goes into the YouTube algorithm, so help you grow out either way. Just speak, okay? That part. I'm sending you guys much love as always, beautiful people, and I will catch you guys at some point in the near future. Okay? Be blessed, my loves. Namaste. Ta-ra.
They said to hold her back, they never seem to leave her head and tend to keep her mind at war. All the things they said to hold